So now we want to get our fabric into the hoop. So I've grabbed my stabiliser, which is optional, but I would always recommend, I've said it before, I would recommend underneath your fabric having a stabiliser. This will help to make sure your pattern, when you're stitching, stays nice and even. It just gives it a bit of sturdiness. If you don't have stabiliser fabric, then I would just recommend doubling up on the fabric, so you've got 2 layers of fabric instead. So now they're nice and in line together, so I've cut them the same size. Let's put the design into the hoop. So I'm going to take the inside of the hoop, the smallest part first, and put that underneath the fabric. And then I'm going to loosen that out a bit. And I'm going to push that on. So this can be a bit fiddly. You want to make sure that it's very central, and I am a perfectionist and that is not central enough. I want it to go to the left a little bit. So you've just got to keep adjusting it until you're happy that the top screw is, central, especially with that wording, because when you hang it on the wall, that's going to be the part that you hang it from. So you want to make sure that everything is all central and that the wording's straight and everything. So actually it needs to go down a little bit. Okay, now that I'm happy with how it's sort of balanced in the hoop and the pattern is, I just need to make sure that I'm pulling all the fabric so it's nice and taut, there's no creases, and then I'm going to push the hoops together so they're nice in line and it's all flat, and then I'm going to start tightening the hoop. I'm not just going to fully tighten it, I'm going to tighten it a bit, check it's all flat and pushed together nicely, neat. The pattern's still in the location that I want it to be, which is central, and the words are straight with the top of the hoop. And also the back. So my stabiliser is also nice and flat, there's no issues back there. All the fabric around the outside is out. And just tighten it. Keep pulling it taut, and a lot of people say that once your fabric's in your hoop properly, it should sound like a drum. So that isn't going anywhere. So when I start putting a needle through that, it's not gonna be pulled out of the hoop. It's gonna be nice and sturdy. So I'm gonna start with the letters. So I'm gonna start with the black. So I just thought it might be useful to share with you to make sure your embroidery floss doesn't get all tangled when you're getting various bits of it and cutting it. Always pull, so if you've got embroidery floss like this and it's a new one and you're not sort of winding them around bobbins and organising them, you're just going to keep them like this, hold on to the 2 labels of the floss and pull the loose thread that's at the bottom, not the top. That's how I've always been taught, and it seems to work. Like it's not knotting, this is staying together quite well. And then I would pull about 30 centimetres worth of thread and then cut it, and then you'll still have this and it'll still be nice and neat for you to put away, and it won't get all tangled with the others. I think I'm going to go with 2 strands for the letters. So there's always 6 strands within the embroidery floss, so you want to pick out however many you need to use. If you were to use the whole 6 strands of thread here and just thread this through a needle and stitch, do you see how thick that would be? It would be really difficult to get the curves and everything, so that's why I'm going to go daintier. So the smaller the letters, I would always advise go down, down, down in terms of how many strands of thread you're going to use. So I'm going to go with 2 for this. So I've just pulled them apart and I've got two there. And there are multiple ways of separating all of these, but I just like to grab the two and then hang on to everything else and just pull the two. So I'm just pulling. Got a little bit of a knot, so I'll just pull that away. Keep pulling, and that's it. I've got just the two strands now. Note they're still together, still in line. So because I'm only using two strands, I'm going to go with quite a small needle, with a very small needle head. If I was using the full 6 strands, then I could use a bigger, I'd need to use a bigger needle, but because it's just 2, I can use a smaller needle, and that will help me get my letters really neat. So if you struggle to thread needles, you can get little needle threaders, you can get them from craft stores. And I'll tie a knot in the end. I just like to wrap it around my finger. And use your sharp embroidery scissors to cut. So something that I'm really strict about with my embroidery is making sure the back of my hoops are really neat as well. Obviously they don't look perfect like the front, but I don't like to have loads of wasted embroidery floss at the back. So I always make sure that I cut the end where I've put the knot, so there's not much left there. Because that can cause issues, to be honest. If you've got too much thread just sitting at the back of your hoop, when you're sewing, sometimes you accidentally pull it through when you're stitching if you go over it. So actually, it does save you later on.